So I've been doing my research into this entire concept of fascism and what does it actually mean to be a fascist, right? This word's been thrown around predominantly in the last like 2 months of Trump's campaign. The word was being thrown around, but for the last 8 to 10 years, it's really been in the ecosystem in relationship to Donald Trump, right? Obviously, little mustache man have been the comparisons made, and a fascistic government, how he's a fascistic movement, and so I had to do my own research. What does this word actually mean? And my research was interesting, and it was actually no, it was revealing and it was mind blowing. It wasn't just interesting; like it actually blew my mind to realize that the word fascist has the exact same definition as the word racist, the word sexist, the word homophobe. Like it was mind blowing to realize that all of these words had the exact same definition. And the definition of all of these words is a title given to an individual who does not buy into my woke ideology. Isn't that interesting? Like all of them fit the exact same definition. Now, obviously, yes, this is sarcasm. Sometimes I be doing stuff like this, and some folks are, they're damn near taking notes or they're they're ready to react. No, this is definitely sarcasm, but unfortunately, this still holds its truth. Where these words, such as fascist, such as racist, are nothing more than a label that is pinned onto an individual when they do not have the same far left woke mindset. Simple as that. I was once a young black man who was oppressed by the system of institutionalized racism, right? At one time in my history, that was the label that was placed on me. And so I was pretty high in the woke hierarchy. Then there came a time when I started to question the entire woke mentality, and all of a sudden I found myself on the very opposite to where I was now a racist. Imagine me waking up one day to realize that me, black as I am, was a white supremacist. Yes, I was labeled as a white supremacist because I was no longer spewing out the same vitriol rhetoric, the same insane and unfounded sort of ideas of the far woke left, because I was questioning whether or not I was truly oppressed. Now I was no longer a victim of the system. I was now the victimizer. I was now, a pawn of white supremacy. I was now part of the oppressor group. Isn't that incredible? In the same way, I all of a sudden became a fascist because I was not buying into, the left-wing propaganda, because I wasn't buying into this leftist agenda, because my beliefs and my values do not align with the woke mentality, the woke cult. And this is the interesting thing about when we get these labels. It's like I've talked about the word selfish, right? When you do something for somebody else, for that person who is asking and demanding something of you, they call you a saint, they call you a good person. But as soon as you do something for yourself, they call you a sinner or they call you selfish, right? When you do it for them, you're a saint. When you do it for you, you're selfish. That's how it tends to be. As soon as you say no to their demand, now they place a label on you in order to shame you. And so the word racism, for example, has become so watered down, it almost has no meaning and no substance anymore because it's been overused by those who look to manipulate others by labeling them as such. If I don't like the words that are coming out of your mouth, you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? If you don't like what I am saying, then you're going to label me as a racist if it suits you. If you don't like what I stand for, or that I don't stand with you in unison with your ideas, instead of just letting us agree to disagree, I have to be a sexist, right? It was incredible to see the hammering away of this thing of misogyny to an individual who is surrounded by strong and powerful women and has always been, even since the business days, right? And Donald Trump. And yet he was labeled as a misogynist when it was convenient. When it was convenient. And the convenience came from, you don't agree with us, and we want to put something on you as a mark on your name, as is really slander, if you want to get down to it, right? We want to slander you. We want to put a stain on your reputation in order for us to be seen as the moral higher. And this is exactly the mechanism that these individuals use. They look to get themselves on a moral high ground. And the way they do it, the easiest way they do it is obviously making themselves a victim, making somebody else the oppressor. And in that, they have to label you something. They have to put something on you. They have to stain you in some way in order to let that dynamic play out. So it's easiest not to actually, God forbid, have a debate of ideas, but instead it's easiest to just label you as a racist, and now, you have no say. You're an oppressor now, and so you can do nothing about, there is no middle ground anymore. It's kind of like back in the day, if you call somebody crazy, all you had to do was just call them crazy, and all of a sudden their entire argument was debased. Now me, I'm going to use the titles wokey, lefty, liberal, etc. all day long, but I'm still willing to have a good intentioned debate. If it's coming from a place not of trying to be argumentative or try to be, sarcastic or whatever it is, I can have a conversation with an individual who's open to having it. But most of these individuals who are given to the woke mind virus, they can't have a rational conversation. They are the equivalent of an individual in, Jonestown, in a genuine cult. They're completely given over to that ideology. So again, for me, I don't give them that title. They gave themselves that title. They call themselves liberals. They call themselves progressives, conservatives. They call themselves woke at a certain time, right? They hijacked the word woke where it used to mean something of some substance, and now it's just completely gone to waste, and they don't even like the title anymore. I'm not going to write you off because you're that. I'm just going to label you. But as soon as you label somebody a racist, you can no longer have a conversation about race. As soon as an individual is a quote unquote fascist, now you're saying they're this, evil regime in the same extent as a little mustache man who literally eradicated millions of people that did not agree with him. Where has that happened in American history? I would love somebody to point out the exact moment between 2016 and 2020, or when we're done with this next term. I want you to point out from 2024 to 2028, when exactly did that happen? When exactly was a fascistic government in order or in alignment who did the same things that a Mussolini did to his people, or a Lenin did to his people, or a Mao Zedong did to his people? I would like just one example of where they had the exact same outcomes as these truly fascistic governments. Now, it's ironic because many of the individuals who've actually studied fascism, and this is a well-known thing within their space. It's not my space. I've just done enough research to be dangerous, but not enough research to actually, have a truly, truly in-depth knowledge of this. But there's a conversation that these individuals don't actually have a fully defined definition for the word. They don't even have it. And yet it's thrown around by the far left media. It's thrown around by, those in which they spew their rhetoric to, those who continue to perpetuate those very same ideas. That's where the word is oftentimes used. The scholars are not going to use it as liberally. They're not going to use it, no pun intended. They're not going to use it as freely because there's still almost an uncertainty and unclarity when it comes to that idea in the first place. But if you were to take some of the elements of fascistic governments, you would have like censorship, which is a leftist belief system, or something that the left believes in, and censoring people. It is political violence in order to get their way. That is something that the far left has been showing themselves. They're willing to commit heinous acts to those who do not agree with them politically or ideologically. There are also elements such as, there is the devaluation of human life. You can see which side of the aisle has these types of belief systems. And so I really had to make this video because it is so ridiculous, y'all. It is absolutely ridiculous that these titles get thrown around, and it's unfortunate that some people take them on them. So if you're watching this right now, if these words like racism, sexism, misogyny, and all the rest are thrown around, most of them are watered down and it means nothing. They're trying to call you the equivalent of, little mustache man. That's ridiculous. That's literally ridiculous. And it's more likely that that person would be greater allies, a friend to little mustache man, than you would ever be in 1,000 lifetimes. Because the way in which they operate is to silence those that they disagree with. It's to go against their adversary in any way and any means possible, which means even eradicating those people completely from the face of the earth. And unfortunately, that's what we've seen, manifest as not just as a result of these elections, but it's exposed what was already there. And the only way in which we eradicate this woke mind virus from our society is to continue to speak truth to power and to continue to remind ourselves and those around us that we have personal agency in our lives. We are the ones who make the decisions that leads to the outcomes. There is no great oppressor over you. Even if you're living in a regime of some sort, there are people who have escaped such places and found themselves in a better situation where they can at least, have more agency over the actions that they take in order to better their lives. If you're in this type of society, you already have started with privilege. You're already 51% of the way there. All you have to do is apply yourself just a little bit, and you will get far along. And you can actually change the quality of your life. But it is a personal decision. It is not a machine out there. It is not an institution. It is not the man, even the quote unquote powers that be, which I sometimes refer to. They're not a power over me. So they want us to believe that they have power over us, but in truth, they do not. You have the power within your own reality to change your reality as you so wish. And if you don't, well, then your life will continue to unfold in the very same way it has. If you finally make decisions that are different, you're going to get different outcomes. That is true empowerment. True empowerment is not to go out there and protest against every new movement that comes up, but instead it is to change the decisions that you make on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. Period.
Is such an H
Themselves. I as humanly possible these elections device to continue to have you right. There was an outcry and I think everybody was restricted. Use it at some
Because we don't pay $80,000.
you are not
but I'm
right. You
a Democrat adding no
No absolute.
fortunately there were and so these in the civil people in positions to but if I'm over here individuals that we see post where Kay would have said let's come to disenfranchise agency. It was a norm. Don't know who that is or civil don't know who that grape wished upon them